Hello and welcome to another interview on the Leader Campus. My name is Mel Wildermuth and I'm talking with Jacqueline T.D. Huynh. And I got it right?
Yep,
Huynh?
you
Yeah.
got it
All right. She said
right.
to do touchdown Huynh. So I got that in my head now. But you have a number of things listed on your LinkedIn area, a keynote speaker, a radio show host, an author. You involve yourself with leadership development, a trainer, a parent, pump radio, conscientious parenting and relationships. You're a certified master in NLP, and we'll ask you about that in a little bit. And your amazing itty bitty book on family leadership, 15 simple tips successful companies use that families can implement at home. Online program as well. So you have a myriad of talents here to go with. So
Thank
thank you for joining me. I appreciate it greatly. So the first question I have is that without giving away the store, what are some points that leadership shares between parenting and corporations?
Well, as a business and as a parent, if you look at a business as a family, like your family is a business, you are the CEO of your family, right? And your children are the people that you're training, the managers, the junior executive that you would want to eventually take over the family business. Then I feel the three most important or very important building blocks or points that in leadership that we all need is communication, which is building rapport and active listening. I call it active listening. The second thing is emotional intelligence, which in our industry, we call it EI. And employee, or I call it / family engagement. You have to be able to engage your people, your family member. And there's studies now that shows that the people at your work is now your second family.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so important to get people engaged and on your same page and bought in, because as you know, if you can't make someone do something, and if they're only going to do half-ass it, if they're just going to put 50%, that's all you're going to get the results of. And if you're talking about a business, you're talking about money, bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're talking about family member, you're talking about values and beliefs that you're instilling in your children.
What gave you the idea behind this aspect of leadership being similar in families as well as in corporations?
Well, let me step back a little bit. I'm Asian, and my father was a military man. So I grew up very Asian, very traditional, and very military. My parents' parenting style was very top down, shut down, and all about obedience. So very military. On the opposite end, because we were Asian, we had incredible values and principles and boundaries, but we lacked in affection and self-growth. So I was taught that good kids follow orders, and if they weren't, it was a problem with the kids, and you probably just need to either yell louder, punish harder, or blame someone. So I realized growing up that didn't work, because that only created fear, and we did things out of fear, not out of respect. So as I got older, I got into leadership development. I went to school, I studied NLP, how the mind works, why people engage, why people do what they do. And I started getting hired by business owners and executives to help them with leadership development for their team members and even themselves, right? On those three things that I talked about: communication, emotional intelligence, and employee engagement. Well, it was so good. It helped them so much that they saw how it affected their family life. Because if you communicate effectively to your people at work, you're going to take it home, and your wife and your children are going to notice it. So they started hiring me to coach their family members.
Wow.
The same thing. They said, could you teach my family the same thing that you taught me? And I did. I just, switch, instead of saying, your coworker, I would say your brothers and sister, your parents. Instead of your boss, it's your parents, right? And it was a beautiful, harmonious integration. These kids, these teenagers, these 20-year-olds, wives, would just take to it. And they're like, why don't they teach these things in school? Why are they not teaching rapport building, the communication style, how to manage your emotion, all these things that we need in the working world and at home? It's not about obedience. So that's how I realized that these things, it's like a swimming pool. You can't rope it out. You can't say this is the P zone and this is the non-P zone in the swimming pool, right? It all integrates together.
Yeah.
So whatever you learn in business or whatever you learn in life, it all integrates.
Kind of an amazing comparison. But is that what gave you the idea then behind this, your amazing itsy bitsy book on family leadership?
Absolutely. And I realized that families that don't have a mission, just like the first thing when we sit down with a company is we talk about what is your values. If you go to any big corporation's website, Google's, Zappos, Amazon, you will find what their company's vision is, what their mission is, and what their core value is. And most family don't even know what their values are. Mm-hmm. Don't even know where they're going, why they're doing what they're doing. And that is a huge mistake. And it's not just an insight. It's, I have a mentor who is my wealth money mentor. He helps me create wealth in finance. And he says the same thing. He says, when people lack the focus, the mission and the vision of where they want to go, they lose out on money wealth, financial wealth, because people aren't coming together.
Yeah. Then you mentioned a little bit ago the aspect of fear. Does that add to the point of not coming together well? Is just kind of a fear? We have a question on the Leader Campus from Dinah Maloney, and talks about fear and how does fear impact the aspect of leadership?
It's huge. And fear is also a part of anxiety, right? Because a lot of times we fear things that we don't know, or if we fear things that hasn't happened yet. And however, our children, our co-workers, the people that we work here around us, will get fear from us too. And I just want to share with you a study. It says that the research shows that the average teen of today has the fear and anxiety level of a 1950s psychiatric patient.
Wow.
So we're looking at fear starting from a very young age, fear and anxiety. And this takes us into our adult life. It holds us back. The limiting belief that we are shown in society, it could be as simple as, you're a woman, you can't be a president. Mm-hmm. You're ethnic, you're going to have a hard time in life. It could be through assumptions that we assume certain things. There's no good men in Los Angeles. I hear that all the time in LA. And so there's no good men in general. They're either gay or married, right? And
well, I fit into the. I think I fit into the second part. I am married.
Okay. So, and then I think the biggest fear is the things that we say to ourselves. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I am not beautiful enough. I don't have that degree. All these things that we beat ourselves up on creates the fear that we shouldn't step out.
And that leads to the aspect of holding you back as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, when you get to the point, you talk about also this aspect of conscientious parenting. So how would you describe that type of thing?
Well, there's this thing called, you keep hearing conscious parenting, conscious uncoupling. And the definition of conscious is being aware of and knowing what is your surrounding, having knowledge of something, and just in general being awake, being conscious, right? And so being aware, basically, when you can really step out of your inside, it's just about you. You have blinders on. When you can open those blinders and be conscious of what's your surrounding, being awake and seeing what's going on, it creates, what it does is it gives you more knowledge, it gives you more wisdom. You can see what your kids are doing, what the people around you are doing, why they're doing it. Great leaders are always conscious of their surrounding.
How much does Subliminal, I can't remember who the author was or the name of the book itself, but there was a book that was very popular about 4 or so years ago dealing with subliminal messages. How does that impact consciousness then, the subliminal messages we
get? It does, because now you're getting to neuro-linguistic programming, which is something I love. So the subconscious mind is responsible for over 90% of our bodily function, right? You don't have to think about blinking, your heart going. And sometimes when you're driving, you don't even think, if you're going somewhere, if you're going home, sometimes you just end up being at home, not even realizing that you got there, right? So your subconscious is very aware of everything around you, even when you're not. So when it comes to subliminal message, like I don't have the TV on just randomly as I'm in the house, because I'm aware that whatever is being said is going to get implanted in my mind. And nowadays, there's not a lot of good things on TV. They're either talking about all the bad things that's going on, or you've got commercials for pharmaceutical stuff saying, do you have this? Do you have this? And then you get anxiety because I have those things.
Yeah. One of the comedians, I can't remember. Oh, it was Samantha Bee. Samantha Bee was saying, how can you have these, because they had some kind of special or something, so it cut out a lot of the commercials. So there was a debate of some sort on television. She said, how can I live without my mesothelioma commercials? What's going on,
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about. You keep hearing those types of things all the time.
Yeah, people don't realize that the TV, and sometimes I'll be in a conversation with a friend at lunch, and she'll say something like, I could never do something like that. And I say, delete. I use that. I teach my children that. I say, delete that last sentence. Say delete, because you do not want to use the word can't. I say, if you want to use it, then end it with yet. I can't do that yet.
That's a very good advice. Does that feed into then this integrative mind that you also talk about?
Absolutely. You hear a lot about integrative medicine now, and people are coming together, and integration is about, bringing together different parts to make a whole. And when you bring parts together into a whole, you create a much better unit and system, right? Being on your own is harder, but when you bring a team together and you work on a project, it's much more productive, and it's much more effective unit when we can all work together. And that's how the mind works too. When you can incorporate the subconscious mind, the power of the subconscious mind with the power of the conscious mind, in NLP, we call the conscious mind the goal setter. That's the mind that says, I'm going to lose 50 pounds, starting, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to make $10,000 a month. That's the goal setter. The subconscious mind is the goal getter. And if it is not in line, it's kind of like a captain of a ship and his crew. If the crew is not listening to what the captain wants, then what you have is mutiny, and you're not going to get your goal. And that's why so many people set goals in January and it fails. It's because what is going on is their subconscious mind is saying, what? Like, you're not smart enough to do that. You're not trained enough to make $10,000. You are supposed to be overweight. you're not pretty enough to be losing 50 pounds. And so no matter what they consciously set goals for, their subconscious mind controls over 95, over 90. Some people say 90, some people 95, but it's up there in the 90s of your function. So it's going to kill your goal.
You've mentioned a couple times now this NLP. So what is NLP, and you're a certified master in it?
Yes. So if you know Tony Robbins, do you know Tony Robbins?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So 90% of what he does is neuro-linguistic program. He actually, David Bandler, and a couple of other gentlemen kind of started what you know as NLP today, what they do on stage. So neuro-linguistic programming. So neuro has to do with your mind, how your mind works. Linguistic is communication, right? It's how it communicates, how you talk to yourself, because before the words come out of your mouth, you already said it in your mind. And so it's about communication, and it's programming. So how you program those things, how you program, how you communicate with yourself in your mind creates the outcome that you're going to get. So neurolinguistic programming really is about the study of excellence. NLP leaders, what they do is they study how people who are great, what is the patterns, kind of like Napoleon Hill, and people that say can't, there are people that maybe can't get over a habit. What are they doing over and over again that are the same? What happens to people who can quit smoking cold turkey? What did they do that were the same? So it's a study of the patterns and the program that we do. And then they created this NLP, and it's really just a study of how people's mind works to get them what they do. And pretty soon, after a while, you'll see great speakers do the same things. Successful people, the Vanderbilts, the Fords, they think and behave and believe and say this a very similar pattern. So NLP, what I do with NLP is I help work in the subconscious mind so that we can reprogram the subconscious mind so that it matches the people that have excelled in what you want to do. So
it's your idea of thinking. It's almost like going back to the power of positive thinking.
Yep.
To some extent. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's one of the most problem, or I should phrase it a little bit differently? What do you think is the most problematic aspect of leadership right now?
Well, gosh, let me think. There's so many, but I think that just because someone holds a position of leader, like the parent, the boss, the supervisor, doesn't necessarily mean that they should. And many of these people believe that because they have that position that they can do whatever they want. And so they come from a place that they know it all because they somehow earned that title, and they're not open to learning how to be a better leader. I think that's the biggest problem that I find when I'm out there. I find it in business when I'm coaching, executives and managers, and I find it in parents. Like, well, my parents, this is how I learned it from my parents, and it worked for me. Yeah. And I have executive CEOs that said, I'm too old to change. This is just the way I am.
Yeah. We run into that a lot as well. So therefore, what impact does that have on authentic leadership? Because that seems to be the kind of big buzzword now.
Yeah. Well, being authentic for me is being genuine, being true to yourself. And in order for you to be true to yourself, you have to know who you are, right? And you have to be able to know who your whole self is. And this is about integration that we talked about, being integrated with your mind, body, and spirit so that you can guide yourself to that true leadership. And so it's all a step, in order to be authentic, you have to know who you are. In order to know who you are, you have to be able to integrate mind, body, and spirit. And that takes you saying, back to your previous question, I don't know it all. Maybe there's a different way. Maybe there's a better way.
Do you think that again, fear plays into that as well? Then
Yeah, absolutely.
because so many people, and that was the big thing back in the 60s and 70s, is I need to find myself. And so they used to either list drugs, or they went out to Grand Canyon and looked at the canyon and did kubayas. They did yoga or something.
We still have Burning Man, so we still have those people.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's not a procedure that you really, is there a procedure that you can actually do then to try to get to this point, or does it vary for the various people?
You know what? It's yes, no to both. There's a foundation that we all need to start with, and then from there, depending on who we are, our personality, our learning style, then it can deviate. When I work with a client, and when I've had, I'm sorry, when
That's
when I work with, when I talk to other coaches, the first thing is that we always say they have to know what their core value is, what their top core value, what is so important that they can't let go. That, and we know, and most people will know, like, there's probably been incidents where someone did something where it just really irked you.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened is they probably stepped on one of your core values. Maybe it has to do with communication. Maybe it has to do with honesty. Maybe it has to do with integrity. Maybe it has to do with being supportive. We all have those 5 core values, and when you have to start from there, that's a way of understanding who you are. And you can go on Google and say, how to find my core values, and they have exercise and how you find it. From there, you build to, once you know what's important to you, then you've got to build on why are you here? What are you doing? The why is a big question. Simon Sinek talks about why. Why are you here in this earth? What do you want to leave on this earth? And then you go from there. And I think that if you can really get solid on your core values, your mission and your vision, then you can start making goals. So many people fail when they don't know what's important to them. They just make random goals.
Well, I think we've hit the goal today. Very nice interview. I thank you very much. With us is Jacqueline T.D. Huynh, Touchdown Win. Okay, and give a plug to your book, your amazing itty bitty book of family leadership. How can we get that, and how is it available?
Well, you can go on Amazon and just look up Itty Bitty book on family leadership, and it will come up. And it's a 30-page book. You can read it in less than 30 minutes. Because, you only retain 10% of what you read, but you retain 90% of what you do. And so this book is about action. So each chapter is 2 pages, and it explains what you need to do and why you need to do it. And then it's just about doing it.
Sounds fascinating. Appreciate the time and I guess it's time to just say thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it greatly. It's very informative, and hopefully we might get together again sometime to add a little new nuance if something changes. Stay in touch with us, please.
I will. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much again, Jacqueline. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.